Every month, our podcast brings you the latest about the real estate market. Listen to the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast for the September 2022 Real Estate Market Update. Join us as we discuss what's happening in the world of home buying and selling. Don't miss out on this exciting information from real estate experts Mike Reilly and Mike Ferrante. This is the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast. Stay tuned.
Hi, everybody. It's Mike Reilly with my just finished his dinner, Mike Ferrante, on the other line. Good evening, Mike.
Hey, great to be here.
Yeah. So tell before we get into it, you had a real American Labor Day dinner, vegan bratwurst.
Right. Yeah. Beyond Meat bratwursts cooked on the grill for Labor Day. Scalloped potatoes, homemade slaw, barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
All right. I like the vegan bratwurst. A little bit of an oxymoron there, but that's all good.
Yep.
So you gulped your food and now you're ready because, as I said earlier, the natives are restless, Mike. We need to get into our September heat check, soon to be post Labor Day. So what's your gut and what's your analytics feel like?
Well, I'm glad we do this, Mike, because I know, when you say the natives are restless, the first thing I thought is, all this stuff on the news, everyone, the sky is falling, the market's crashing, all this stuff that we're hearing and reading the headlines. The data just doesn't really bear it out. I was looking at the drop in activity, the lengthening of time on the market, and it's kind of normal for this time of year. So of course, I've got numbers pulled up to support all this, but the kind of big picture, Mike, is that it's September now and our Cleveland market slows down a bit in September. Prices tend to dip a little bit over the winter, and that is completely normal. I think I think normal is a good word to use. We're heading toward more of a balanced, normal market.
So the irrational exuberance, as the disgraced Alan Greenspan caught with his pants down in 2008 during the crash, the irrational exuberance maybe got flushed out of the market, would you say?
Yeah, so I think that the Fed did exactly what they set out to do. Maybe a little too late, I would argue. They should have been doing it a little bit at a time, bumping those rates up. So they did it all at once, a couple big moves, and rates last I checked were in the sixes for 30-year mortgages. But yeah, that has taken some demand out of the market, which has slowed things down, and market times are creeping back up and inventory is climbing again, but we're still not quite to where a normal balanced market would be, but we're certainly heading in that direction. And like I said, I've got numbers pulled up. I know on the podcast here, sometimes the numbers get lost, but I'll rattle off a couple numbers here just to kind of put things in perspective. So, let's start with price. Everyone says, "Oh, prices are going to drop. I'm going to wait for the recession and get scoop up deals."
Right.
And it's not happening. So in July, our median sale price was 203 in Cuyahoga County, Northeast Ohio here. It peaked in June at 211,000. August, the median price was 195. But like I said, that's normal for this time of year. I'll give you an example. August of 21, just last year, our median sale price was 195. Fast forward 1 month to September, it dropped 20 grand to 175. And that's kind of where it hovered. It was 180 in October, back to 175 November. So it just kind of hovered there for a while. But this little dip in prices is kind of normal. So I don't think it's a crash. None of the experts are saying that we should expect a crash, but maybe a slight dip in prices, especially as our seasonal lull in activity hits.
Okay. Well, I can hear some listeners screaming at through their headphones, because doesn't that make this a buying opportunity?
Well, every winter is a buying opportunity, in my opinion.
Okay, that's a normal buying opportunity.
It is. So it's a predictable wave. It's a predictable sort of roller coaster of prices here in Northeast Ohio. If you want to scout out deals from September to January is a great time to buy in Northeast Ohio. Now, on the flip side of that, you might say, well, what if I have to sell during that time? Yeah, it's the prices dip a little bit, but there's also fewer buyers out there. There's less inventory. So it all kind of evens out. But if you can afford to wait until after the first of the year to sell, then that's better. But the net change is probably about 5%. That's probably about the average dip that you see over the winter.
Okay, so if you're the person who got relocated, has got to sell, it's not like it was in '09 or 2010 where you were just on a hammerlock of having to, it had dropped so far that you had to write a check to exit, right?
Exactly. And I think where most people are right now, because of the wild appreciation we had, and I know some of our listeners are saying, what, 7% per year? That's wild. But yeah, for us, it is. The wild appreciation we had over the last 3 years, I think most people are sitting in pretty good equity positions. So even if we did have a 10% drop in value, which I think would be very high, people are still in pretty good equity positions. So I don't think you're going to see a massive wave of foreclosures or anything like that.
Well, I think what we're going through is going to wash out a lot of those crazy prices people were asking. I mean, we just bought, because you were helped us purchase a very unusual deal, which we will talk about in future podcasts. But I mean, they had that big mansion priced way too aggressive. Would They had it at $1 million, then it dropped to 900,000, and then they took it. We picked it up for 815, but the first pricing was a little crazy high, right?
Right. Well, that 30 months or so of pretty much put any price tag on it that you want and you will still get offers, that's gone.
Right.
But that said, yeah, another number I'll throw out there is days on market. And I track that too because it's interesting to see how when the market slows down, days on market increases. We were down to single digits for a while, 7 days on the market, even in June this year as rates were going up. Now we're back up to 15 days on market as a median. And that's still not, quote, normal. Normal for us is 30 to 45 days. But
Right.
we're going to get there again. And Mike, like you said, it's getting to be a market again where you can't just throw any price tag on a house and expect it to sell, as is evidenced by the house that you guys scooped up. You got it for almost 20% below the original list price.
Right. Exactly. That was an interesting deal, and that's a future podcast later this month as we unwrap that. So we've got a couple of groups of, we have different types of people here who are listening to our podcast. The first is the investors or the newbie investors, the people out in California who I get a lot of calls from. Yeah, I like your podcast. I want to talk, et cetera, et cetera. And they're venturing into Cleveland. And of course, most of them are making the classic mistake of getting mesmerized by that $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 price for a house in a very bad neighborhood in Cleveland. I shouldn't say bad neighborhood, but it's just not, it's a working class neighborhood that, you'll be lucky to get $850, $900 on rents, and that's on the high side. So that's our first basket. The second basket is first-time home buyers, right?
Right.
So first-time home buyers, things are, you've waited. You've maybe got frustrated, like my niece was saying. She, put 6, 7, 8 offers in, and kept striking out. Well, hey, your time is now here, right, to buy, right?
Yeah, all those buyers that were on the sidelines, we're not seeing the crazy multiple offers like we were. So I think this is the golden opportunity, especially over the winter as we see our natural dip in prices. We're seeing occasional multiple offers now in the really, really hot markets, the highly desirable neighborhoods. But I'll give you just some anecdotal ideas here of what's going on. Cleveland Heights, we've got a listing that we thought we had priced right, over 30 days on the market. Garfield Heights, same story. Nice little house that would have sold during the feeding frenzy, probably in multiples. 3 price reductions, and we're at about 50 days on the market now.
Right. And Cleveland Heights is an interesting story. Loyal listeners to this podcast have heard me go on and on about, the hope of the new mayor and the change in tone with housing in Cleveland Heights. But unfortunately, it's meet the new boss, same as the old boss with the mayor, because he's not doing anything about housing. And some of my council people are getting shut out. So that dysfunction in how Cleveland Heights is dealing with the vacant house problems is what it's doing is it's underperforming neighborhoods are going to continue to be underperforming. Where if Cleveland Heights had their act together and were focused on going after these vacant houses, then those neighborhoods would be great buying opportunities. But right now they're not. So again, the desirable neighborhoods in Cleveland Heights, they're adjoining the Royal Heights, University Heights, the hipster area around Kensington, Meadowbrook, Lee. But, there's still pockets of Cleveland Heights, which I wouldn't recommend people buy into because of that.
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back. If you've been listening to this podcast, then you understand or should understand the pitfalls of investing in Cleveland real estate. Say you're looking for an investment property to rent, and these are the things that could happen and often do. You overpay for a house, and it's in the ghetto. Then you find that it's a money pit with endless surprise repairs. Your hapless property manager, who may be the brother-in-law of the realtor, gets a tenant who after 3 months stops paying the rent. Then the toilet explodes, and you have nobody to repair it because, guess what? The property manager is not answering the phone. Yep, that's the ugly side of the Cleveland real estate market. But we have a solution. Buy one of our properties. It's been inspected. It's been vetted. It's in a rock-solid part of town. It comes with a Gold Star tenant paying top dollar rent, and we manage it. Call us at 216-371-8160 if you're interested.
But getting back to the first group, I'm kind of meandering here. The first group, which is the investors, again, they've got to be cautious. They've got to stay into good, solid neighborhoods. And what do you think the opportunities are for these duplexes? For some reason, people are mesmerized by buying duplexes. I can't figure that one out because I think it's nothing but headaches. But are the duplexes, they were getting bid up, right? Are they still getting bid up?
Still a very hot commodity. And again, Mike, we talk about it all the time. It's numbers on paper. So there's you're analyzing your singles versus your multifamily, and for the money, it looks like higher returns for the same money on the multifamily stuff like duplexes and threeplexes. But what a lot of people don't take into consideration are those headaches, the turnover. You tend to have more of a transient tenant base. Now, you could also go, have a counter argument to that, and like you guys have your Shaker Heights duplex or threeplex, Linden or Leiden or something.
Linfield.
Linfield. Yeah. I mean, you guys do really well with that as a short-term rental, but the traditional year-to-year tenants in multifamily turn over a lot more. They tend to have more of a renter mentality. They don't take care of the homes in general, like people who rent single-family homes. They think of it as their home when it's a single-family home. So again, these are generalizations, but it's the numbers on paper mentality.
I think if you're going for duplexes, you have to be close to University Circle, the clinic, the case. You've got to be close there. If you've got a duplex in the middle of a working class neighborhood surrounded by beauty parlors and dollar
stores.
That is the kiss of death right there.
Yeah, certainly more challenging. I mean, those are the warning signs of a challenging neighborhood for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not trying to redline anything. I'm just saying, it is what it is. If you're going to get duplexes, get the duplexes that are close to, interns, residents, professional people, because really a lot of them, they just come in there to sleep. They work so long, in terms of hours. But okay, so first time home buyers, your time has come, right? Maybe another month or two as you get close to Thanksgiving, people are going to start getting a little panicky, start dropping the price. If you're a seller, that's the time you want to jump. For investors, duplexes still, I think they're just way too high what people are asking because, the investors are just bidding them up, right? These duplexes.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Those are still pretty hot when we list those. We're seeing multiple offers on those, even in let's just call it the rougher neighborhoods. But certainly the duplexes we have that come up in Cleveland Heights, any of the Heights areas, or even like you said, the inner ring suburbs, man, just the feeding frenzy we get on those is still pretty furious.
Right. And people are picking up on it. Sellers are picking up on it, and they're just selling these absolute dumps of houses. One of our clients in Washington, D.C., he was all hot to buy another duplex. Man, this thing was a disaster, and it was in Shaker. It was falling apart, and they're throwing it up there for $200,000 because people are stupid enough to buy it. So again, investors out there, if you're looking to get duplex, just call Mike Ferrante. Okay, just call Mike Ferrante, and he will tell you no or yes. So that's a plug for you, Mike. Okay,
thank you, Mr. Reilly.
See, you rush through your dinner, you've got to get a plug. That's your dessert. Okay.
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite dessert.
Okay, so one of the investors, two is the first-time home buyers. What's the third? People downsizing? People just getting tired of their house, want to upgrade, downgrade?
Well, I mean, we probably have a lot of categories here, but yeah, certainly the move-up buyers. You've got downsizers. The relocation folks are always out there. I'm not sure.
That's true. Relocation,
Yeah. There, I think we have, especially as we think about our listeners, I think we have a little bit of everything. But even I think seasoned investors can pull little bits and pieces and gold nuggets from what we throw out there.
Right. And so you people are looking to invest in a house, look for time on the market. That's always a good indicator.
Oh, for sure. That's one of the huge things that we do when we're looking for deals for investors. It's a lot of agents don't know how to use all the tools, all the different search criteria, and time on market is a huge one. A couple of years ago, I scooped up a deal on a nice single because it was on the market for about 90 days. And, I threw an offer at it. And next thing you know, initially they said no. About a month later, they called me up and said, "Hey, we're dying on the market here. Are you still interested?" And I said, "Yeah, my price is my price though." And they said, "Okay."
Yeah, but you came at it cash offer. We assume the violations.
Exactly.
Fast close. Right?
As is cash close whenever you want. Because I'm flexible. You investors out there, you guys have an upper hand because you're flexible.
Right. We have a very interesting deal that we are actually, we're buying my lawyer's house, which is a funny story because my wife actually slept over in that house when she was in high school, and she always loved the house. It was a really one of a kind, kind of a modern Japanese influenced house on great street on Shelburne, but very different from the rest of the houses on Shelburne. But you know what? My lawyer wants to go to his wife. They said, we're going down to Florida. We've got a place down there. We're going to start the marching towards retirement. And they want to leave the furniture there. So they want to leave the furniture. It's a very unusual house. And price started dropping. When I got to a certain point, I said, hey, let's work something out. And we accommodated them in terms of when they wanted to close. It
Yeah.
didn't matter to us, because, and that's going to segue into our next topic, which is the 1031 exchange, because this house, our lawyer's house, and we're going to talk about the mansion in a later podcast, but this house, they want to close November 1st because that's when they're going to be down in Florida. They want to leave the furniture there. They're going to take some furniture, but so we're buying all the furniture and we're going to tee it up on our website. And people, you can go to ReillyProperties.com and you can see this house coming up. And it's a perfect Airbnb. It's not the perfect mansion on Shelburne because it's so unusual. But having the flexibility and the fact that we took the, we started selling some of our properties in the summertime. And as you know, Mike, when I saw an opportunity to sell a house for people coming in, I took that advantage. And now we built up a war chest that's been popped into our 1031 exchange account. So tell people about the 1031, the magic of 1031.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tool that more people really should know about and use. It's the quick summary is it's a way to defer your capital gain. So you have a limited amount of time to identify a new property. You say, I'm gonna sell this property and 1031 it into another, and you roll over that money into the next property, and you get to pay your capital gains another day.
Exactly. So investors out there taking a look at your houses, if you're multiple owners of houses, got to ask yourself, is this house really producing? Or is it just, it's not going to get any better. The neighborhood's not going to get any better. The quality of the tenant's not going to be better. I don't care what kind of incantations your property manager says, it's not going to get any better. Now's the time maybe to sell it to another investor or first-time buyer. Take your profit, roll it into a better house in a better area. And this is where we can help at ReillyProperties.com as your A consultant, or working with Mike Ferrante. Find a rental that actually works. And I told, ironically, I told a lot of people who in California who bought a house and they wanted us to be property managers. And I said, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. It's nothing but problems. Think about selling that house now while the market's still strong. Get out of it, reposition yourself in another area. But if you do own a property and you want to flip it into something that's a better property, that's what the 1031. If you got equity in there, save the property taxes for another day.
Better, bigger. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons to 1031, but it's a great way to upgrade, like what you did. You consolidated a bunch of houses that were spread out to some extent and put them all in one, all that money in one place. So I've seen some investors consolidate smaller properties into a bigger one, like a big multi-unit, sell a bunch of single family homes and buy a 20-unit building. Now again, we can debate the merits of multifamily, but certainly there's something to be said for upgrading and deferring your capital gain tax.
Right. Well, okay, so we touched on the 1031, and we're going to wrap this up, but give me any final analytics on September heat check.
Well, I think that I'll keep watching the numbers. So my crystal ball, let me dust off the crystal ball. I think you're going to see
dust off some of that bratwurst steak. Okay.
I'll polish up this crystal ball, and actually I use a magic 8-ball to predict the market. So let me shake it up here and tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to say that by the time January hits, we're going to be back up to right around 30 days on market as an average. Our inventory is still going to be in the 3,000s, which is about half of where it needs to be for the market to be balanced. But then what's going to happen is once spring hits, things are going to heat up again. And even though rates are going to be hovering in the 6s probably, things are going to heat up again in the spring, and all these naysayers who thought the market was going to crash are going to see that it's going to pick up again in spring. So that's my bold crystal ball prediction.
Okay, so to sum it all up, it's a semi buying opportunity for you first time buyers and investors. Clock is ticking right now. You start getting into March. We're back to the historic, legendary Cleveland spring market, correct?
You got it. Yep.
Okay.
Couldn't have said it any better.
All right. Now, you investors, remember Mike Ferrante, Century 21, consult. He'll give you some free advice. We charge for our time. So it's ReillyProperties.com. This gold does not come free. So we'll wrap this up, and then we'll talk a little bit more about pitfalls and the new renting dynamics later this month. Okay, Mike, I'll let you digest your meal, and everybody will talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds great. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast with Mike Reilly. Please add our show or follow us on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Leave a like or comment on the video. All engagement is appreciated. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well for video content coming soon. For any Cleveland listeners or Cleveland Browns fans, you can check out our other podcast, Cleveland Browns Anonymous, for our weekly group therapy session. This is also on all the same platforms as the Cleveland Real Estate Investor.